Trust me that it will be important.
All right.
Okay.
How do we make our stories, and how do I personally make my stories? I thought, it's funny. I had never really thought of the process that I use to write stories and make games, and then I realized I do have a process.
That's not a good start. I'm going to be completely honest. I'm trying to be unbiased here.
Yeah, you guys are being initiated the hard way.
It's amazing because, like, you would think that your process isn't something that you discover is, like, descriptively just the kind of how I end up doing things. Like, well, I guess that must be my process.
Yeah, no, any writer that tells me I didn't know I had a process until I guess I thought about it, yes, I do have one. I'd be like, what the fuck?
I'm going to say, I'm just going to put it out there, this talk on its own could merit an EFAP.
I bet. Yeah, I've seen from the clips and stuff.
Listen,
that I've seen
we're 40 minutes in now to a new stream, so the cap has been lifted to another 11 hours. I'm not saying you guys have to stay for that long, don't worry.
And I started to put it together. I realized that there are 3 primary points that I use when I create a story for one of our games. So I thought I'd run through those 3 points for everyone here today. So, going to the first point. Kiss.
Kiss. You could tell it's Kiss because there's the lips on the white background.
I ran in my head, like, what could he say that would throw you off? And I was coming up with examples, and then I just see this, and I'm like, yeah, that'd throw me off.
He's really selling himself to the audience here, that he's somebody worth defending.
Is KISS, like, it's KIS, like it stands for something?
Yes, he's going to go into it. One thing I want to mention is that he picked this quote up from Todd, who just said, keep it simple.
Ah, okay. Yeah, see, this
Todd
is why it's fun for me, because
stupid, so he thought that was part of the saying, maybe.
I'm so out of the loop, I act as the audience insert of just being like, what the fuck's going on here? And I'm like, all right, fine, let's see what he has to say about this.
Keep it simple, stupid. What does that mean?
Oh.
Well, for me, that means when I'm coming up with a story for a game, I like to concentrate on strong central themes.
Casablanca.
And
yeah, this is bold, isn't it?
Well, strong central themes, keep it simple. I already feel like,
that's not quite the same.
Well, because strong central themes could be simple and complicated, and they shouldn't be pushed necessarily in one direction or the other. It depends on the project. You know what I mean? It's like, listen,
it's not what that motto is typically used for. That motto is typically used more in an engineering application than a writing application.
Right?
Yeah, because the less moving parts your machine has, the less points of failure it has.
Right.
Yeah.
Molly, you grew up in the UK. Have you never heard of KISS? It was battered into me as a school. I have never heard of the acronym KISS.
Now, that comment made me think they were talking about the band. Have you never heard of KISS?
Oh, I know of KISS the band. I just didn't know about KISS the approach to working. Keep it simple, stupid. That's new to me.
1 or 2 strong central themes is enough.
It's not something that, like, surgeons say to each other, is it? Keep it simple, stupid,
I could
see it having value. Well, yeah, he's even told us how far we jumped there, but all right. What's number 2?
Going to the second point.
You know what's funny is if he hadn't
is it? Why are you cutting him for time? You got to leave in all the uhs and ahs and awkward statements. Because that's one of his points, is that he's not awkward or something. Yeah.
What's funny is if he had not kept in the part where he said having a strong theme after saying keep it simple, stupid, like if he had just kept it at keep it simple, stupid, I would have had more to imagine that was a good point from him than if he had, stopped him earlier. But now we've moved on.
Part of the test.
So now,
it's part of the test. You got to get the context.
This is me speaking directly to, is it NeverKnowsBest is the name of the YouTuber?
Yes.
Probably shouldn't have done that, because now it gives me a sense, someone who's not necessarily, I'm not even necessarily willing to watch all of your video, let alone jump to a different video as context to your video. So when I'm listening to you summarize him as saying, my writing advice is, number 1, keep it simple, have a strong theme. Like, that's already confusing to me. And then you're like, number 2. It's like, what? No, number 2? Like, what was number 1? Like,
more to the point, why wouldn't you bring these examples up when they're relevant to your argument? Why is this its own section where you're bringing up all the... Like, because who's going to remember this by the time it becomes relevant later on?
Keeping it simple, stupid.
He's keeping it simple, stupid.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah, big dummy.
I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to this video, though.
Right.
Because I got to remember all these different fucking things that Emil said instead of just bringing it up when it's relevant.
I will say this statement is all about how you contextualize it.
What you know.
Well, yeah, because this is a very This is a very common bit of writing advice.
This is one of the parts that he's going to fuck up later on. When he says that Kritosis is changing Emil's meaning, and then he changes. He himself never does changes his meaning, and he leaves the evidence on screen. Because that's the weird part, is there's no subtitles on screen right now. But later on in the video, there's going to be subtitles when it could be like. That's why I think it's a test. You can't accidentally include the captions.
It's also the same part where he includes the clip of my video where I'm not saying exactly the thing he's claiming. He's taking one word out of it to misrepresent what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, this is all the setup, chat. This is all going to get scary as we move on because all the payoffs will happen.
What does this mean? Write what you know. Does this mean that if you are working as a dishwasher and decide to become a game developer, you need to make a game about washing dishes? No. Write what you know, for me, means
that's a jump ahead.
That you draw on your personal experiences. So for me, one of my biggest, my first big break at Bethesda was around 2006 when we started working on Oblivion. I was tasked with creating the Dark Brotherhood, which is the Assassin's Guild. And I wanted to sort of leverage the experience I had at Looking Glass Studios working on the Thief games. And Thief is about sneaking around and stealing stuff. I wanted to sneak around and
Thief has stealing stuff in it.
I thought that would be fun. I thought to myself, how could
what was that? What was that inclusion? That went nowhere.
I was about to ask you guys, why did he just he sounded like he was about to go somewhere, and then he talked about Thief for a bit.
No, that's how Emil talks. That's the whole 40-minute presentation is just like random tangents, and then never later in this video is going to go. It's not full of random tangents. All these things lead to somewhere, but he didn't think so because he decided to cut part of it out.
Also,
weird because
I'm going to say he's
a PowerPoint is to keep you on track.
If Emil's butchering his speech, he is butchering that butchering. Like, we are getting the cuts are not helping this.
I'm getting a bit lost.
It's confusing on its own. The way he's edited it has made it even more confusing. Absolutely.
I'm curious if he's going to include the clip.
An evil Assassin's Guild. To my own personal experiences, it's like I don't know what this is, but I do know. I know the Catholic Church. I know the Catholic Church.
What the fuck?
Wait.
Included it. I don't know much about an Assassin's Guild, but I do know the Catholic Church. And every Protestant cheered. Those filthy papists are up to it again.
That's an interesting thing
but
to
I'm
say.
absolutely the one that brings up that Emil's Catholic for no reason. Sure.
Actually, the Dark Brotherhood in Oblivion.
I'm sorry, it's just so funny to be like Dark Brotherhood Catholics.
Every single stream that I've ever done where that clip played, the chat loved it.
Yeah, because it's funny.
That is
really
hilarious.
funny.
Dude, that's not too far away from being like, I had to design this alien race. I'm familiar with the Vietnamese. Like, you can't say that. That's fucked up. And like I said, some YouTubers can fall into these traps.
I'll tell you, I admire that Catholic confidence.
Is actually
keep it simple, stupid. Maybe you kept it a little too simple there, buddy.
Connections to the Dark Brotherhood doesn't keep it simple, stupid.
Evil take
no,
the Catholic Church.
That's a point. Oh no, he's going to make the point. Sorry.
My third point, the longest point.
No, he cut it out.
Wow, he cut it out. No, go back to the Catholic Church.
I was going to say that was really entertaining.
Okay, what he was going to explain was how the Holy Trinity is tied to the Dark Brotherhood with Sithis and the Night Mother and all that. And he completely cut that out. No fucking shot, dude.
Wow.
I
wanted to hear that. That actually was probably going to be better than anything in this shitty video.
We haven't even gotten to him ripping into you guys for the lies that you've told as well. It's crazy.
Stormcloak is basically tied together. 16th,
Great games are played and not made. So this is
I get the sentiment, but they do have to be made at some point.
I was going to say, I understand exactly what he's saying, but this is a quote that I hate. The quotes like this, I hate.
Great games are played, not made. That's almost like one of those, no, this is obviously retarded. You must mean something completely different.
Yeah, because he's going to start talking about the value of playing it as you're developing it, and you're like, you mean playing it as you're making it?
Oh, is that what he means by this? Because I actually don't understand what he's trying to say.
I assume he's saying that the devs need to be able to play and enjoy it as they're developing it, so that they know that it's working and everything.
Yeah, I'm giving him the credit of thinking that Emil doesn't actually literally
play testing is part of making a game, though. So I don't even.
You know what's part of making a game? Making a game.
In the context,
playing the game is making the game. The game is the design document.
He is badly trying to explain the iterative process. That's the full context here.
Why would that... See, that quote just doesn't capture it as far as I'm concerned.
Now, a real writer might say for his PowerPoint, the game design is an iterative process. But if you're Emil, you say great games are played, not made.
That's what he's looking for, right? Is like catchy little quotes to be like, haha, see, look how catchy and cute these quotes are. But
let's go back to the Catholic Church, right?
Yeah.
If you really want people to understand you, don't use parables, you retard. Just tell them what it is.
Well, and someone said, let him finish instead of speculating on what he's gonna say. This is a quote and a design title for point 3 of how to write. So don't make this the quote. Make it something else.
And also, this is the 5th time that I'm seeing this talk.
And who the fuck, like, who does, like, why would you want it to be a quote that only makes sense when you give context to it?
Once you explain it.
Yeah,
if it's a quote that only makes sense once you explain it, then there's something wrong there.
Because I feel like all the great famous quotes of history, it doesn't require like a speech or someone to like in real time explain to you what the quote really means. These little wisdom nuggets.
I understand what you mean in this. It can be that elaboration is super cool and helpful.
Yeah.
But that the quote stands on its own, especially if it's meant to be 1, 2, 3. That these are the things that you remember. I don't know, because this quote on its face is just like bizarre to me.
Well, he's picked up a new one. He's picked up a new one since then. He has on his desk written, "It is what it is."
I find more value in that than I do in this one. And I was actually going to say as well, like, like work hard, play hard. I feel like that would probably capture what he's going to try and say better than this. Like, because a lot of people saying like, you gotta let him explain. It's like, guys, we're not ending the stream in a few minutes, okay? We're gonna be here for a long time.
That's
on everybody.
This is why I always assume is like we got some new people, and that's just wonderful. Welcome, but like
we are happy that you were here. We are thrilled.
We're covering everything.
Took a chunk out of your day.
We're gonna give you our perspective on this slogan before it's given context and after it's given context. Not even just one of them. Both of them. And that's assuming this video gives him the context, because he's been cutting around a lot, so I'm not actually sure what he's going to do.
Yeah, he's what you should pick up is that he started this point of listing them out at like 3 minutes, and we're 15 minutes now into the presentation.
We're also
totally not a clusterfuck
into the video, and I'm just saying, all right? Not been a great experience so far. I'm not hooked.
This is a point for the studio. This is one of our mottos at the studio, but it has several meanings.
We have many mottos.
It just works.
On a studio-wide level, great games are played, not made, means that we use the iterative process. We make the game.
I told you.
Literally, like every fucking game that's ever made, yeah?
I practically know this by heart.
The iterative process, meaning that we have a thing, and then we test it, and then we make another thing based on what we learned from the thing.
We didn't used to test them. We just coded it and see what happened.
I need to control my anger because we're so fucking early. But like, that's the most normal fucking thing you could ever have for making a video game.
This is the key to the success of Bethesda. We play the game, and then we make changes, and then we play them, and then we make changes, and then we play it. We innovate. Nobody else does it. This is like the profound Bethesda innovation.
The thing is, you joke, but that's absolutely how they do it, and that informs a lot of why their games are the way they are.
I assume the funny isn't that they do it. The funny is that they think that's worth mentioning. Like we play our games. Like wow.
The funny is also when they realize they have a huge fucking problem and do nothing about it, which goes into in this section in the actual speech.
Oh my god! Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Why would you say that?
Why would you say that?
I think maybe it's just a sort of confidence that selling these games as much as they've sold. Maybe it just makes you really overconfident that you can just say anything about them.
That was Zarek's
everything we
point.
make is gold.
That was Zarek's point in his video on this, was that Emil is insulated to outside opinions, and so he's only ever been told that he writes masterpiece after masterpiece. So that's why he has so much big dick energy about this.
My mom says I'm a very pretty boy, and I look one. I'm very handsome.
Well, it is kind of amusing to be like, do you want to know how to write a game that has a story like Fallout 4? You're like, well,
wow, Emil, wow, oh boy.
Then he's like, make sure you
already?
play the games you're making. You're like, yeah, yep.
We are very changing things. We are actually at a state now in the development of the studio. We don't have a lot of extensive design documentation.
There we go.
Uh-oh.
Probably after we hit Fallout 3, the design docs that we had became outdated very quickly. Because we knew we needed to get stuff in the game.
Follow them.
So, that's the thing. This is going to get complicated because I want to share like how I feel about quotes like this, and then you guys are going to be like, "Oh, it gets way worse," or you know exactly what. But like, just hearing what he says there, I'm just like, there should never be a complete outdating of any kind of prep that you make for a game at fundamental level. For example, when they were making like Doom or Quake. They're going to be like, okay, the fundamental art design we want to have here is a combination of like medieval plus Lovecraft plus like a sci-fi Marines type thing. Keep those in mind whenever you're building anything. There's not supposed to be a time where you go, that's been outdated, sorry, delete. You'd be like, what?
It means your original concept was really bad, or you just didn't stick with it, which is like, what's the point of having it?
Again, what I want to preface is just that there's not supposed to be a 100% outdating of all documents. I could understand how some would be outdated, but not all.
So it's not terribly uncommon for design documentation to be outdated because they'll just find stuff along the way that's more fun than their original idea.
Yeah.
So that's fine on its own. But throughout part of the process, you do have to keep that documentation up to date until you're in... the book I'm currently reading says until you're in alpha, you should keep your documentation up to date, which was about the development of World of Warcraft, which had a couple players.
1 or 2.
3
million.
Yeah, peaked at 12 million concurrent accounts, but
like
I don't think they know what's up.
Feels weird to hear him say this and not be like, you know, obviously we have like a fundamental design doc that includes some of the big things that are going to be relevant to like all aspects, but that there are elements that will change so much as we progress that we don't keep them as close to heart as you might imagine compared to smaller teams making smaller games or something like that. And this speech seems like the perfect time to do it. But again, I'm just talking from having heard clips being chopped up in this video to prove context for what I'm about to hear later, which is still really weird. You'd think these context clips would come in after we hear the lies, not before.
Yes.
But here's what Emil really said.
Remember the nuance of everything that he's saying because it will be relevant later. I hope you took notes.
I have fine.
Because it will be on the test.
Change it. We needed to iterate on it. So we would have these extensive 50-page design documents that were completely outdated.
Completely?
I have been told by a few game developers that 50 barely scratches the surface.
But I also would argue there's no fucking way that they are completely out of date.
Yeah.
This is like saying we shot ourselves in the foot. This proves that feet are useless.
If the design doc says that you're making an RPG, does that get outdated? Like at some point,
it ain't an RPG anymore. It's a fucking QLLASAP RPG, which is very different. Okay.
I was going to say it would require them to actually make RPGs, which they haven't done in a decade.
Oh my god!
Dang.
Okay, and
you play the role of the
Master Chief.
Yeah.
Someone in chat mentioned like potential exaggeration. Is like, is that not the kind of thing you need to avoid exaggerating?
Yeah.
In a speech like
wouldn't
this,
have gone so badly if he just fucking explained it at any point.
Well, when you're telling everybody how we design things going forward, and then you say like we have a design fundamentals list of documentation that gets thrown out at some point because we iterate so hard, all of it, everything about it.
To make Fallout 3, I will remind you.
It's just I don't know. It's just a speech. Isn't the speech about design?
It's just a speech.
It is.
Well,
no, it's not a speech. It's not a speech. It's a presentation. There is a difference.
I was gonna say there's a PowerPoint presentation. He did prep for this.
Well, and remember, this is at a game developers conference.
That's what I mean. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to be.
It's not supposed to be persuasive.
Why would you not want to be precise here instead of, wishy-washy?
If I was a naive, young, aspiring game developer and I heard, oh, we don't do a lot of design documentation because it gets outdated really fast, and I'd be like, well, what the fuck is even the point?
Well,
why bother?
So, or you'd be writing down your notepad, design documents are a waste of time.
I was going to say, I'm going to be honest with you. My initial reaction to that, honestly, would be, you're lying to me. And you might be like, well, how would you know, Mr. Muller? Have you made a game? And I'd be like, no, I just don't believe that you don't have a consistent level of documentation to spread between the people who are working on this thing for all kinds of reasons.
On a team of, 100+ people to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
100+? What are we talking about? Skyrim?
Who knows?
Try 4,000.
Is that...
Sorry, that's the broader credits. That's the broader credits of like all the localizers and stuff. I think it's somewhere in like the ballpark of about 1,000.
Yeah, I guess I could believe that. Yeah, I mean, at this point, when it comes to AAA game development, yeah, we are talking like thousands of people.
Yeah, Rockstar's like 2,000 people, I think.
It's like every studio of Rockstar and every single location is working on one game. For some reason, at this point, it seems
there was about to think like was Free about to say like, oh, everyone's working on the Rockstar game, like just all of Earth. In a way, we all contribute.
What did you contribute?
Because I was just thinking because I think Halo 3 was about 100 people, at least like in the core Bungie team. I'm not sure about like contractors or anything, but the industry has changed a lot. I think there's a lot more of just like there'll be a lot of contract work, a lot of outsourcing, bigger teams, multiple studios working on a single game. I mean, fucking look at Call of Duty. Now, when you put up a new Call of Duty game, there's like 10 studios that are listed as working on it.
Reminds me of the executive producers of your average TV show.
Oh, yeah, where it's got like 10 like executive
15
producer credits.
Fuckers,
what? I don't understand. How can there be... Okay.
How did so many people make such a terrible product?
To bring this back to WoW, they also didn't use a centralized design document, but they were a team of like 60 people.
I imagine if you can just scoot your little wheelie office chair over to Jim on the other side of the room and be like, "Hey, so I was thinking about that." And he's like, "Yeah, that's really
there's so many stories in this book.
Ronald the Clown
doing exactly that.
A big hammer or a small hammer?" And he's like, "It's a big hammer." Like, all right.
They would talk about design at like over dinner and stuff together.
Yeah. Oh, that's sweet.
That is sweet.
How come we don't talk about design over dinner? Why don't we do that?
We're gonna fix that.
I'm sure that we have talked about design over dinner at least once.
I've probably eaten dinner on a call where we've talked about design. That's true.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
So we probably actually have now that
multiple times.
Considering we're on episode 200 and I guess this is still 270 part 2. And I have had some snacks while we've been It
is wacky how much of our lives have been just projected straight to the internet. Our opinions, our everything. Anyway, back to the regularly scheduled programming.
Emil was telling us about how to win writing.
Yes.
The time it took to maintain those just wasn't worth it. And so, great games are played, not made, means that as a studio, we are constantly iterating. But also,
don't say no. That's why you're here.
And so, on a personal level, on a designer level, that's what it means. Great games are played, not made. It means play your own stuff.
Oh God!
He just keep repeating himself.
All he told us was
the thing is, the motto makes it worse. The motto creates confusion.
Literally, has there ever been a game of like a high caliber that was ever developed and released without having been played by at least one of the developers? You kidding me?
Yeah. I mean, it's a famous story, but it took like a year. I think they spent a year on Super Mario 64 just making sure that it was fun to run around and jump around in a 3D space as Mario. And it's like, well, how did they do that? They played the game, didn't they? They played
the inverse of Starfield, where they discovered, this is starting to get fun.
I love
how many times do maps get play tested, multiplayer maps, just to see the balance and what kind of tweaks you need to make to improve the game flow or balance.
Well, is it not funny though that like when the quote was delivered, the slogan, the whatever this is, was delivered, that my assumption was the meaning was we play our games and then we develop further forward, and it was like, is that all it's going to be? That's all he said. We play our games. It's like, good for you, man.
The not made part throws a wrench in it, where you're like, what? Why would you say? Why Why would you say it like
made
that? What do you mean not made?
You play it and then you go back and then you make changes. You make changes. Make is the present tense of made is past tense.
Yeah,
you make changes and then you play it. So great games are played and made.
Great games are made. I mean, can we just be honest? It's a little bit pretentious. It's like, great stories aren't written; they are created.
They're read.
Or something like that. You just be like, what do you stop? Why are you saying that?
And of course, this is particularly funny when he is a writer.
Well, and I don't know, like as a sort of like, you could just make fun of him for this. You'd be like, so Fallout 76, did you fucking play that before you released it? He'd be like, why are you saying that so dismissively? You're like, oh, I don't know.
Fallout 76 isn't played; it's experience.
It's experience. Yeah, that game wasn't created; it was molded. You're like,
not
why
on this planet.
But as a writer, so how do we look at this with stories, right? Great games are played, not made. Played. That's the key word, right?
Did that make you wonder for a second there if he looked back being like, what the fuck did I mean by this? Why did
I feel like when he said that, he looked back to see, like, is played, like, the biggest word on that, so that before I say it's the key word, I actually visually make sure that it is the most important word on there.
But as a writer,
the key word is R.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this with stories, right? Great games are played, not made. Played. That's the key word, right?
He looks and then he says played.
Yeah.
This does feel like he's kind of freestyling right now, and he's like, fuck, I don't have much for this.
He's making sure. I didn't play the biggest
every
word,
game developer is a storyteller in an interactive medium.
Okay.
You are not writing a screenplay. You are not writing a novel. You are writing a piece of...
Really,
they should have told the Last of Us people that.
Oof.
Oh,
how dare you?
Dang.
You just didn't understand it. The reason she spit her at the end was because of what she'd been through. It makes sense.
Yeah, revenge bad.
Yeah,
I'm sorry for my opinion.
You better be. Put it in the bad.
Sorry, my interpretation. It was bad, so it was an interpretation.
A fiction that has an important interactive component. When we
Who's that man?
Why did he cut that out?
Some guy appears on the screen and he cuts away.
Is he missing? Should we be looking for?
Why did he cut that out? That's a point later in the video. That's a point in like 10 minutes.
If you ignore the fact that the person who made this video butchered this, if you treat that as the original cut, that is so fucking funny. Like,
you're not writing a novel. You are writing a piece of fiction.
He turns to look at the screen.
An important interactive component.
Opens up this guy, and then
when we started,
like, what the fuck was that?
How did that picture get in here?
It's like a picture that should be on a milk carton for someone that's missing.
Anyway, if any one of you sees Juan, please let him know that we miss him very much, and we'd like him to return to work.
That was Will Shen, and he generally looks nervous in all of his pictures.
It's genuinely, it didn't matter who it was. It was just so funny to be like, here's this new image. Now, anyway, it's like, what?
Well, especially because this is relevant in 10 minutes.
Well, I mean, you've already pointed this out as we have, but like formatting wise, you should have just fucking opened with the false statements and then been like, I dug into this and here's what he actually said. It's the most straightforward way to do this. Because this, as it stands right now, you're sort of like, why am I here? Well, I don't even know what's going on anymore. And eventually he's going to introduce you guys as,
Are we
villains.
Just here to... Are we just here to make fun of Emil? Why would you do this? Do you want to... I thought you were defending him.
Well,
this is funny.
I don't know. There are people who've made videos on this, but like, isn't the first even 5 minutes of your video the most important as a YouTuber? Like, it's the...
Yeah.
It's,
even down to the first, like, 10 seconds.
Yeah, the first 10, it's like how you hook people, what you get interested in by... So, yeah, I don't know.
A story at Bethesda. When I start working with the team, we start big. Like, we always want to do this. So we always want to write the great American novel.
Oh, right? He said it.
Okay.
So let's say, okay, we're going to write the great American novel.
Okay. He cut out a lot of times of him repeating the words "great American novel." But...
Yeah, I don't.
Is that like a meme for him?
Yeah. He says he explains it so awkwardly, but he says the words "great American novel" like 5 or 6 times in a short span of time.
I am like oddly in favor of people having the aspiration to write the great American novel. I don't mind if that's I think it's good to aspire to be great.
Well,
but I'm guessing
Frangy,
that
I think the problem with that is that we have been told explicitly to keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is that novels are non-interactive, which he says, but
which he did
Turn the
say.
page.
Which
I mean, you gotta like open the book, so that's interaction. What about
But I mean, he's going to make a point. He's going to make a point that he's not awkward when he explains this stuff, and it totally makes sense. I don't know why you're saying he's going off on all these tangents. But meanwhile, he's cutting out like fucking 15 minutes of this guy just going off on tangents.
Well, so I'm gonna be completely honest with you. The way that he's chopped this outright like makes me think that he's ruining the original speaker's sort of intentions and clarity. But that, for all I know, it could be made even worse by including the original.
I had to do this in my Skyrim video. It was specifically this section. I cut out all the uhs and repetitive statements and stuff. It's hard to get his points concise when you edit it down, but it is possible, and this is not it.
Yeah, well, yeah, okay. Well,
this is worse. This is worse than if you just watch the talk.
Well, we've been over this formatting is not even a good choice anyway. I can't imagine, like, people who are fully in favor of this video's points so far, if we could pause them at this point and be like, what have you taken in so far?
I'd have to probably imagine, like me, and just skip this stuff.
Well, there's that, but there's also, like, you'd be like, well, so far I've learned that this guy knows what he's talking about as a writer.
Does this video have the heat map at the bottom? How many people are skipping this?
I don't know. Can you see that?
I cannot see it. I could not see it on the original.
There's a link in the Discord chat that
let's see here.
I was provided.
But I feel like if we would see it, we would see like a valley, like you see those valleys with people do sponsorships.
I think the video is still too new for that. Maybe doesn't show up for me. But,
I really am curious how many people are like skipping this stuff, because I feel like if you did watch it, you'd think it's a shit post.
I still wouldn't go that far myself. I'm still far away from.
Not at this point. No,
I still think this is just incompetence.
Yeah,
bad video making.
Yeah,
it's going to be this thick, and on every page will be written comedy and tragedy, and it'll be wonderful. It'll be amazing, and you're going to give this book, this great American novel, to the player. And what are they going to do with it? They're going to rip out every page and make paper airplanes out of them. And they're going to throw them around the room. And they're never going to see your story.
I genuinely don't make of that. I need him to explain further what he means.
That hits like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, like it almost feels like, how come gamers aren't engaging with my story the way I want them to? It's like, I don't know. I feel like that's like.
Does he mean pointing out plot holes, or does he mean just like the story isn't consumed in the way that you'd like because people play around?
That was my best read of it, is the idea that because it's interactive, they can engage with it on their own terms.
Yeah, that's something you got to account for with
Not
design.
yours. Yeah.
You gotta let him cook. He's a master chef.
Okay. Let's see his explanation.
Yeah.
Because the story is there, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are going to spend 30 hours making shacks. Okay?
Right.
Yeah.
They're going to spend 20 hours.
But that's not engaging
bobbleheads.
with the story.
Okay. But that's
it is interesting that he did say it is interesting that he says this like as if it is non-story, when, like he said, not incorrectly, everybody who's contributing to the game, programmers, artists, designers, are all in some sense creating a story with what they do. That there is a story, like a sort of gameplay story in doing these activities that aren't directly connected to cutscenes or dialogue. But I understand the point that you don't have control over the pacing of that experience, especially if it's an open world game where people can go off and do whatever they want for but I don't even know if I would describe that as tearing out the pages and making paper.
No, absolutely not. That's what I was going to say.
This is like, I'm setting the book down. I'm going to go, fuck around with this other shit right now, and then I'll go back to reading the book.
Well, not even that. It would be like
an open world game is that they can skip ahead. They can jump really far ahead in the book and read other portions of it, or they can put down that book and then pick up a book that's next to it that's like the appendix or the you know what I mean?
That's closer to it.
I would describe it as reading a passage, putting down the book, and then like sketching a character that was described. Like it's still relevant to the book what you're doing, but it's not.
They're not
reading
destroying
the
the
book.
book, that's for sure.
As far as I'm concerned, depending on how you design your game, this is not a problem as much as it is an opportunity. When you have players, I feel like Ragnarok, funnily enough, is one of the most interesting cases of trying to solve this problem, along with other games, of course. But like, there would have been a time where it would have just been like, we have story, and then we have bonus quests, and we're not going to put story in the bonus quests. They know that if they engage in them, that means they're not going to get story for a while. They're going to get gameplay. Maybe like, oh, this person needs this thing, go get it, and you have to do a bunch of things, you get it, and blah, blah, blah. And this is like, can that happen at any point in the story? Yes. Therefore, it doesn't interrupt, but it also doesn't provide you any story.
It's funny that the chat mentions that the problem is that the team added shack building, and that's his problem. Who the fuck do you think leads this team?
Well,
it's fucking Emil's project.
Well, also, this is what I mean. Like, this is not akin to tearing out the pages and flying them around like a fucking paper airplane. When you have, because this was super notable in the DLC for Ragnarok. It's like, how do we get story paced correctly versus story that's like in particular places? Is there any solution to that? It's like they drip feed promptable dialogue and more unlocks depending on how far into the game you are, and then you have like random flavor dialogue in general. And so they're finding ways as games develop over time to solve the problem of gamers doing whatever the fuck they want to do, engaging in quests, failing the quests, that sort of thing, while also trying to make you feel like the story is progressing at a steady pace. And what he's addressing here just seems to me like, yeah, this is a problem they've been trying to solve forever, and there's loads of different ways you can try. But like the idea that you're saying
this comes across as a complaint that why would players want to build shacks for 30 hours instead of engaging with the story and characters that I wrote for them?
Yeah, it is purely
that does kind of loom a little bit. Like, why, if your story was so captivating, you think that it might draw attention away from the shack building until after they complete the quest?
Yeah, because I can't remember a time in Fallout or Elder Scrolls where I was like, I just have to see what happens next. I just have to see what happens to these characters next. Like this incredible narrative of like, man, I just can't wait to see what happens next. I don't want any distractions. I can't go over here and do this dungeon or look at this bobblehead or pick up this duct tape. I've gotta engage with the story.
Well, that feels to me like highlighting the nature of the deal that lots of games are making with the game. When they go off and make a fucking shack for 10 hours, they know they're not getting story, and that's okay. That's like I accept that. I know what's happening here. At the same time, the reverse of that could be in Valhalla, for example. You're like, I really want to fucking know what Tyr and Kratos are going to say about the events of like the past games, but I actually have to beat Tyr to be able to access that. And so like it's like that frustration almost. Like I can't fuck, but that's more of a regular one. The flavor dialogue I was talking about is just like character interactions that are generally considered story progression, but at the same time could be completely missed and don't damage the story. That's one of the solutions I was trying to get at. But it's so weird to see this contextualized as almost like you write an amazing story, but it's destroyed by gamers' interests in doing random shit. Like, that's not true.
I wonder if he's going to include like, he's eventually going to get around to saying that it's okay, but he describes it as a jagged pill that players are going to play it in a way that he doesn't. Like, I think he's brushing with saying that they're playing the game wrong. Obviously, that's my interpretation.
It sounds like you say that
the shouldn't be writing for video games.
It sounds like he's saying that gameplay is fundamentally at odds with delivering a story to a person, as opposed to something that you have to. It's a problem to solve. It's not a problem that's destroyed, like in and of itself.
Well, so I'd also consider the fact that just the fact that he describes the things that players build as shacks. When Fallout 4 does give you a lot of different things to build and make and do and arrange, and he's just like, yeah,
and
they're
it's
just
part of the main
shacks.
quest.
Yeah,
there's literally a part of the main quest where you build stuff.
Yeah, it seems very dismissive and kind of insulting. The guy who's writing is basically shacks, but it just comes across as like, yeah, they just want to build shacks. And like, well,
I also feel like it's undermining the average gamer's point of view too. If they were like, oh god, look at the big boss, he's captured this girl over there and he's about to kill her. Go get in there, hero man. And then you open your inventory and you're like, I think I want to
keep,
keep, shotgun. I want to put pistol there, blah, blah, blah. And the amount of time it takes to organize your inventory, it's not like you're thinking about how this has destroyed the story now. This is absolutely ridiculous. I wouldn't spend half an hour sitting here thinking about my inventory when he just told me that my girlfriend's about to die to the evil dinosaur. You're just like, no. That's just not how people approach games at all.
Yeah. We're talking more about what Emil has to say than what Never has to say. You're like, he's going to start talking and again, he's going to be like, oh, fuck, it's this fucking British guy.
Yeah, go back to the funny man on the stage.
Okay. Honestly, I prefer Emil because of the fact that we could just talk about game design stuff.
Yeah. I'm telling you, this is actually a decent thing to stream. I've streamed it. Kritosis has streamed it because there's a lot of stuff that you can build off of when talking about it.
As much as you're probably completely right, we are not only stocked up, we've got 2 EFAP episodes that have been recorded and are ready to release. We've got an EFAP episode stocked up so hard, we're recording one tomorrow. Probably going to be a live stream, actually. So the idea that we'd throw another one on when I think I have 8 ready to go in terms of videos we want to cover and what people we've chosen out for guests as well. We could always put it on the list. Yeah. I don't know.
It's worth thinking about, especially if you can pull some other Bethesda folks in, because they can talk about it too.
Yes,
Chat. I mean, this really is like a core part of the Bethesda discourse because of how fascinating it is to listen to Emil talk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so far from what I've seen and heard of this, even alone in this video, this is like gasoline-soaked kindling for conversation starters.
Oh yeah, because we do dabble. We've had plenty of gaming episodes of EFAP that are always, we got some gamers in our chat who are thirsty for such things. I'm sure they're very happy today. In fact, tomorrow's EFAP will also be about gaming, somewhat.
Ooh, we know that going in. That's the jagged pill that we swallow.
When
we do this. Because again, great games are played, not made, and a story in a video game is an interactive thing. And so we know that.
So we pose some skeletons. Call it a day.
Like, genuinely, the take I got away from that was him being like, ugh, is that good enough? Did I tie that in?
Yeah.
I think so, which is really weird for a prepared presentation.
Well, that is the point he's going to make, is that it seems poorly prepared, and it was probably like just quickly put together. But at the same time, it's like, so that's his problem.
Yeah, that would be his problem.
He could have done another presentation. He could have done the interview that I offered to do and clarified all this stuff. Yeah. He could have done anything to explain what the fuck he was talking about if he did a poor job here.
How long is this original thing? Did you say it was 40 minutes?
40 minutes. 41 minutes.
Damn, dude. All right.
Not made, and a story in a video game is an interactive thing. And so we know that, and we're comfortable with that. Because the true mark of being
what the fuck?
Holy crap.
Subway Surfers.
Oh, wow. We skipped like 20 minutes. We skipped half the
Not only have we hyper skip, but it's funny seeing Subway Surfers because it automatically triggers me into the whole, like, the amount of times you'll see this shit pop up on YouTube Shorts. It's an actual joke at this point. I didn't realize we put it in as a joke for our Ahsoka coverage. One of our episodes, we just put on Subway Surfers in the EFAP chat section. This is an example. The show was so boring, we need something else. But it's like, it actually is a thing. It's not just a meme. Like, people need Subway Surfers to continue watching a video.
Developer is, as every developer knows, is waiting for reviews to come in, right? And then reading the reviews, of course, and hopefully, if you get lucky, ignoring the reviews, right? Thank you very much, guys.
That's a strange image for ignoring reviews.
Ignoring review. Is it like the insistent now, to me, if I'm reading into this a little bit, it's like, fuck the reviews, we're making so much money.
Yeah, that's the implication I get. It's like, when you want to go with something else.
Yeah. Something that makes you come across as less of a fucking asshole.
Just a little bit, which also unfortunately means that
how could people take this poorly?
That's the end of his speech, which means British man's coming back soon, right?
Yeah, he's coming back. Brace yourself, skit chat.
So, what did you think?
I hated it.
I'm honestly very unimpressed, and I feel like you've made him sound worse than he probably sounded with the cuts.
You probably should have just told us to go watch it ourselves.
Yeah.
We could have made a better stream. Yeah.
Well,
thanks for the stream idea.
What you realize with how you solve the problems, you're like, so by playing him out of context and in pieces, you've made me confused and kind of annoyed at a lot of his positions. It's like, so solution, play the whole thing. It's like, problem, that's way too much video without getting to my point. It's like, what's your point? That Kritosis and Patrician TV have kind of lied to you. And it's like, well, then fucking get to that. Why the hell are we still here? This is 15 minutes in. You haven't even gotten to that yet.
He's trying to filter the audience, okay?
You still on that? All right.
As this will be referenced continuously from here on out,
Oh God,
I'll do a quick summary that I think is in good faith and is completely
Then why did you play
factual.
the clips if you're going to do
What was the point of the
summary?
clips if you're going to
You
summarize?
fool! You don't know what a summary is.
Holy
When
shit.
Emil was asked to give this speech, he thought about his writing process and came up with 3 rules he finds useful.
Yeah, and from what you showed me, it looks like they were very haphazardly put together, almost like he was told to come up with 3, and he did that and was like, eh. And then, especially on the explanation of the third one, he was almost like saying things and then being like, that makes sense, yeah. Yeah, we'll go with that. And it's like, oh, that's a bit awkward for someone who's such a seasoned writer. And that was what your video did to my impression of Emil. So where are we going from here, you know?
Keep it
You're a
simple.
bad
I do love that we have people that aren't familiar with this discourse, because I think it helps a lot to get an outside perspective.
I'm almost
on this whole
completely
thing.
out of the loop on this one.
Stupid,
Good.
which he explains as being about having a single, strong central theme in a story. Write what you
Is
know.
that what he said?
which he
Is that what he
explains as
said?
drawing-
That's what he said. I remember that was one of the lines that he said.
I thought
I
he,
feel
I
like
thought he
our
implied multiple
discussion on-
themes, like
Yeah.
a couple.
completely factual. When Emil was asked to give this
How about
speech,
this? How about this?
he thought
You do
about
this
his
bullshit
writing-
summary, and then you play the examples that back up why it's good faith. Don't fucking bombard us with fucking 5 minutes of Emil Pagliarulo talking, because that's a flashbang, and then give us your good faith interpretation.
process and came up with 3 rules he finds useful. Keep it simple, stupid, which he explains as being about having a single, strong central theme in a story. Write what you know.
See, but
like
there's so much
turning?
more to say, you know?
I feel like that was an incomplete sentence. Like
Yeah,
turning into what?
oh well.
Which he explains
I
as
guess
drawing
it's
from
gone.
personal experience in your writing, where he gives an example
Wait,
of work.
he says here personal experience, because later he's going to drop that personal part to explain why firsthand experiences aren't personal experiences. What the fuck?
Oh yeah. Well, the problem with all of this is that when you say something like, I'm going to draw from my Catholic experiences to create the Dark Brotherhood, you really need a lot of explanation for what you mean by that. Like, if I'm going to, generate a faction in space called the Glurgs, and I'm drawing on my time in kindergarten, you're like, what? And you're like, no, trust me. This will all make sense. Like, I feel
Even
like
in
you've
the
made this
full-
harder to understand by giving me that information.
Even in the full speech, it kind of comes across that way, though, because he mentions how Sithis and the Night Mother are the evil versions of God and the Virgin Mary, and he just kind of moves on. We don't know what that means.
I was
'cause he
about to
doesn't
say.
fucking explain it.
I think a lot of this only makes you ask more questions. And to be honest with you, when you got a 40-minute speech, that is the time to make things very clear. You got plenty of time to do it.
Of working on the Thief series and growing up Catholic when designing the Dark Brotherhood. And lastly, great
That's
games
one
are
way
played.
to put. That's one way to put that part.
If only we knew what the fuck he meant by that.
This is what I mean. You're giving so much space and, I guess, good faith interpretation to someone who should be really good at this. And they had so much time, too. And it's amazing how much you cut out. It's like...
Not made. A company-wide motto at Bethesda about the importance of iteration and playtesting when creating games.
Which was especially
No,
cringe.
he just said the iterative process. I don't think he said playtesting.
I also don't think he said it was important in general, rather than it's something we do, as opposed to the reality, which is every single developer does this.
Well, it is their company motto. I think they
don't
have
even
it
know
on the
what
wall
One
there.
of their mottos. He said they have.
But if he
many
explains the motto to
multiple
mean we play the games we make, it's like, yeah, everyone does. That's what I mean. Like, you need to give me more than this. Like, oh, it's an iterative process. Oh, yeah? What does that mean? It means that we play it, and then we notice stuff, and then we change it based on that stuff, and then we play it again. Wow.
I hope someone's writing this down. This is gold
Yeah, I hope
right
so.
here.
This is not something you would just
games
assume.
Have been so shit before Bethesda showed up on the scene.
You should write for Mark Brown. Oh,
dang.
Emil then also says he applies this as a writer by making sure to remember that you are writing for an interactive medium, which is different to non-interactive mediums.
That's a very charitable way of interpreting that.
Interactive mediums are different than non-interactive medium. I agree, British man.
You left out the whole resentment. You left out the whole resentment angle that you guys picked up on, despite not knowing him.
He gives a light-hearted analogy of just because writers want to write the next great American novel doesn't mean players will comply and might instead make paper airplanes out of the pages.
That's not
which
really
didn't
an
make
analogy.
sense. It
That's
didn't
not
make
an
sense.
Analogy.
What's funny is that before
that wasn't comparing things. That was just saying these two things are different.
Before explaining his position, like I said, I included the potential interpretation that they're going to tear into your story. They're going to be like, this doesn't make sense. It's like, no, that wasn't a part of it at all. He just said that people go off and craft stuff in between story points, and I guess that's the equivalent of taking your pages out of the book and turning them into paper airplanes. That doesn't seem right at all, does it?
Just doing whatever they feel like. Therefore, don't forget about player freedom when writing. Of course, there are many other...
Don't leave out the jagged pill part.
Things said in this speech. It is over 40 minutes long. A lot of it is about Fallout 4, or providing other examples of these 3 rules.
Wait, is that The Hunt?
Yes. That might be The Hunt, yeah.
Wow, now I kind of want to see this speech.
See The Hunt.
That fucking movie is banger.
That is an insanely good movie.
Well, he's bringing it up because Mads Mikkelsen is from Denmark.
Oh. You know what? I'm gonna go take a shit. You guys go ahead.
That is Rags' way of saying he's immensely disappointed.
That's the correct response.
It's the spookiest time of year, and what's more suitable than EFAP celebrating with a brand new set of terrifying plushies? Introducing the EFAP Halloween plushie set, starting with Mauler the Longpire, a terrifying monster of bloodthirst and long. This cuddly beast is both infamous and primal in his desire to drain the very soul from the world of media, and he's coming for you. But he's not alone. How could the Longpire be complete without his trusty doggo? Rags-o-Lantern. Poised charmingly in his pumpkin, your Rags-o-Lantern will be there to offer his support and encouragement and sarcastic commentary to all your endeavors. This gourd-adorned Shiba Inu will give your pumpkin patch a pantalooned pooch's worth of company, and of course, both of these fine, fiendish fellows are joined by yet another. Though his eyes may have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, Fringy the Raven will gladly perch atop your couch, cuddly and at the ready. This corvid ventures nowhere without his scythe, and he's more than ready to slash his way through all obstacles. But not without the final member of this cutthroat cohort. Hear the bell as it strikes the hour of the wolf. When the midnight sky is red, a beast shall emerge from the forest to plunder your local pizza parlor. Behold, the dreaded werewolf, complete with the sunken eyes of a beast who avoids the searing heat of the sun, carrying with him a slice of his latest victim. This legend of the night will surely be a fantastic addition to this crew of dark demons and pumpkin playmates. But that's not all, no sir. Have you ever left home only to worry you're leaving the members of your favorite podcast behind? Do you despair when Mauler's commentary, Fringy's laughs, Wolf's fury, or Rags' puns aren't around anymore? Well, anguish no longer. Now you can stay warm and cozy during those chilly autumn days while constantly explaining to everyone that, no, it's not electronic fapping, I swear. Introducing the official Every Frame a Pause Halloween hoodie. Perfect for lounging around indoors, shopping, long walks on the pier, weddings, baby showers, funerals, Halloween. Christmas, complete with the expected furnishings of the season, as well as some gorgeous artwork by Black Soul Odin. The EFAP hoodie is ready to keep you warm and comfy through those winter months. There may even be a surprise guest on the back. Pick up yours today, because once the campaign ends, it'll be gone for good. And don't forget Mola the Longpire, Rags O'Lantern, Fringy the Raven, and Werewolf, completing the EFAP Halloween set. For every item you pick up together, the discount will increase. Be sure about what you'd like before it's too late, as the spooky season will not last forever. Find them all at makeship.com/shop/EFAP. All links can be found in the description. Thank you all so much for watching and supporting the show. We will see you next time.